Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to RWBY Volume 8 Chapter 2. So you are seeing this on Saturday or Sunday, rather, the day after the end of One Piece Week. So One Piece Week just ended, and yeah, getting to this a day late than we normally would, but wanted to keep my thing about One Piece Week not having anything else. So, oh boy, it's a day. So that being said, last we left off, we started off Volume 8 with some division. Our crew has divided a little bit. They're still working together, but they're doing separate things because of a difference in viewpoint. On one side, you have RWBY and Nora, and on the other, you have Ren and Yang. And each of them have had different people go with them. The only thing is, there's more of a connection with RWBY's side, because RWBY's side also has Blake and Weiss, and Blake, at the very least, definitely agreed with RWBY's side of things. Weiss didn't really say much of anything, so it's hard to say exactly where she stands, but she's working with it, and Penny's with them as well, because mostly out of necessity. She needs to be there to help get them in. On Yang and Ren's side, though, it's really just them, because the other two who went with them, Jean and Oscar, both kind of were in the middle. They both thought that they could do both options. Neither of them had picked a side. So really, RWBY, Nora, and Blake do have majority in terms of like what side has more people actually on that side of the argument. I definitely I cannot for any reason see the viewpoint of Yang and Ren's side though. I am fully on board with RWBY and Nora and Blake's side. That entire side, I'll just say RWBY's side from here on out to make it simpler. RWBY's side and Yang's side. I'm fully on RWBY's side because honestly, to me, it's just the blatantly morally and ethically right side. Not that Yang's side is bad, but it's definitely the wrong thing to do in the situation. And it's not going to help overall, at least not as much. RWBY's side is definitely more actively necessary in the situation. We also saw Cinder returning to Salem last episode, along with Neo, and Neo did not like how Cinder was talking about her. You could very much tell that. People have already been guessing that Neo was eventually going to betray Cinder, and it's definitely looking like that. Now, we also had been suggesting the idea that maybe Emerald will end up changing sides as well in the future. And considering how Cinder treated Emerald when they, well, got reunited for the first time in a while, it's also possible that Emerald might end up leaving that too. I don't know about Mercury, hard to say about him, but Emerald, I honestly think it'd be very believable for her to switch sides at this point. Because she clearly has been showing some regrets towards being there in the first place. And if Cinder continues to treat her like shit, she'll probably eventually see through it and see that Cinder doesn't love her like she thought she did. We also saw Ironwood. We saw that kind of saw the aftermath of Clover's death and everything. Saw the other Aesop standing over his body. We saw Winter having been injured from last time. But we saw Ironwood, and he's not doing well. He's buckling down harder in his really, really misguided views on this. And the thing is, he still wants to save Remnant. He still has a noble goal here. His entire goal, his entire mission is still to save the people of Remnant. Unfortunately, he has so much stake in Atlas that he thinks it's the only way to do so. That he thinks if Atlas falls, that's the end. That Atlas is the only way to save Remnant from Salem. That without Atlas, there's no hope. Which there's really no reason to think that. Like, yeah, Atlas is the superpower of Remnant. They have the high tech, they have the military might and all, but that doesn't mean the world is screwed without Atlas. If Atlas falls, there's literally zero evidence to say that the rest of the world will be screwed. It's basically the kind of toxic patriotism that you see so much in real life America. The idea that America is such a global superpower that without it, the entire world would crumble or something. And it's completely unfounded. There's no reason to think that. But the toxic patriotism makes people think that America is not only just this global superpower, but necessary as it is for the health of the world. And that's just not true. That's blatantly false. But people think that. And yes, I'm bringing up real life situations because it's very clearly meant to be an allegory for real life situations. That's super obvious. Um, Ironwood wants to do what's right. He wants to do what's good for all of Remnants, but he just doesn't know what that is. He's so invested in military might, in this false patriotism, in all of this brawn over brain, that he's, ironically enough, considering what he's been saying to Team RWBY and Orange and all of them, he's not seeing the bigger picture here. He's not seeing how this is not going to help anyone. He doesn't seem to get it. And in the end, I do still think he's going to die, and I do still think it's probably going to be after he realizes his mistakes and probably sacrifices himself. I mean, I don't know that for sure. That's just a guess, but that's honestly, in my view, the best guess at the moment. Um, and some people will say like he's beyond redemption at this point, but I don't think so. Like, yeah, we did see him shoot Councilman Slate, but that doesn't mean he's beyond redemption. In fact, I think that's probably going to be an action that's going to haunt him. Yeah, he'll still think it's necessary, but I think he that's going to haunt him. And I've been thinking about it since last time too. Like, why would he do that? Why would he kill Councilman Slate? He wasn't being an active threat to him. But then I thought about it. It's like, while he wasn't being an active threat, he was in his way. Because hear me out. There were currently four seats on the council, the Atlas Council, because Jacques he doesn't count anymore. Since his arrest, his seat is vacant. So there's 4 seats on the council. Ironwood, as we know, holds 2 seats. The other 2 are Councilman Slate and Councilwoman Camilla. Correct? So Ironwood cannot make any big official decisions without the approval of the full council, right? And right now, since he only holds 2 seats, it'd be an even split if both of the other council members went against him. By killing Councilman Slate, there's only now 3 seats on the council actively filled. And he holds 2 of them. He holds majority, so no matter what, he gets his way. No matter what, no one can really stop him, officially or in his eyes, unofficially. However, the action of shooting Councilman Slate, as we saw, both his 2 most loyal supporters, Winter and Harriet, both looked unsure about that. Both of them, they looked at each other and they looked really shocked and taken aback by that action. I think that by the end of this volume, both the Aesops and Winter are going to leave Ironwood's side. I think both of them are going to leave Ironwood's side. I think by the end, Ironwood's going to be alone. He's going to have no one to follow him, no one to support him. And that's probably that would be a good way to cause his redemption. He would finally realize how he's alienated everyone and that his actions have done nothing to help and only divides humanity more. Now, and this is all conjecture, mind you, but still, it's based off of what we have seen. It's just my thoughts based off of what we've seen. So our teams are split up. We have Ironwood kind of going off the rails, just completely losing his mind. We have Cinder having returned to Salem, and Salem planning on kidnapping Oscar using whatever that Grim was at the end. It wasn't no Beowulf. That was not a Beowulf. I thought it was at first. Rewatching that multiple times now, that was not a Beowulf. That was something bigger and scarier. Maybe like an enhanced Beowulf of sorts, but still, it wasn't no regular Beowulf. But Salem is planning to have the creature, the Grim, kidnap Oscar and bring him to her so she can learn how to activate the lamp, because she doesn't know. She has no idea how to activate it. And fairly so. Like, why would Ozpin have ever told her that, even before they split away from each other? There was absolutely no reason for him to have told her that. Honestly, it's surprising he told her as much as he did. But yeah, so with no idea how to activate it, she needs him. I don't think she's going to get him. The opening, some people have said with the opening that it looks like Salem's going to have Oscar captured, but I don't think that's what it's going to be like. I think she's going to be actively hunting him throughout the volume, and that she's going to kind of like be the shadow over his shoulder, and he's going to be maybe become paranoid, maybe become kind of just like constantly fearful and worried. That's more of what I'm seeing from this, from the opening. I do not think he's actually going to be captured. Though I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong. We also have the return of the Happy Huntresses. They are helping our teams and working together as a resistance force against pretty much everything right now, let's be honest. Against Ironwood and Atlas, against Salem and the Grim. They're just resisting. But their main goal at the moment is to bring all the citizens down into the crater because it's warm, but it's not, while it's not entirely safe, it's easier to actually protect people when they're all in one place together. So that's their goal right now with the Happy Huntresses. And we only saw two of them. We only saw Joanna and May. We haven't seen Fiona yet. And we know where Robin is. She's with Crow, and they just got arrested. That was mentioned in the first episode as well. They were being brought in as prisoners. So the opening shows them working together, so I assume they're going to probably break out or something, or be broken out. We'll have to see. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this season, for this volume. I have been for a long time. I've just been getting really excited for it. I've been avoiding all spoilers, all trailers, and I can't wait to see where this volume takes us. So we're going to get Chapter 2 started. So yeah, let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts. It will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So first off, before anything, I'm leaning forward because the light was like shining and shooting at me in the reaction. You guys will have seen. So it's like, I just want to avoid that for the time being. One, because it's blasting into my eyes. Two, because it obstructs my face with all the light. So, according to the credits, the voice credits, because this thing has a fucking voice, this thing fucking talks. This Grimm at the end is called the Hound. It is a giant black hound and is utterly horrifying. This has got to be a fucking reference to the Hound of the Baskervilles. My personal favorite Sherlock Holmes story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. In The Hound of the Baskervilles, the Hound is a mysterious legend that crawls and hunts within the mire of the Baskerville estate. It's bigger than any normal dog, more vicious, black as night, and has a howl that can be heard from miles away. In this episode, while there's obviously some clear things that set this apart and make it its own thing, this is a giant, horrifying black hound that in every way kind of just captures that state of fear that the Hound of Baskervilles kind of enveloped. Because as it first starts out, it's this quadrupedal hound. It jumps down, and with no one being able to do anything, it quickly and efficiently takes out Oscar and destroys his aura. Just completely wipes out his aura. And then its body transforms into a quadruped, and it starts using Oscar as a shield as the others try to attack it, actively and intelligently acting against them. And then it speaks. Like, we had set up in Volume 2 about the idea of ancient Grimm, old, really fucking old Grimm, and the idea that after a certain amount of time, yeah, they learn, they grow smarter. So, sure, but in the same way that animals learn and grow smarter. This is active intelligence, human level intelligence. This is not the same thing at all. And the fact that it can speak, it's like there has never been a Grimm that could speak. Like the closest we've gotten is the screeching noises that the Nuclevi made. But this thing actively said no when told to give him back, to give Oscar back. And then it grew wings and flew away. And they're trying to chase it down, but it's like, I don't see what they're going to do. Because this thing, with its intelligence, with its power and skill, with its ability to clearly shapeshift, what are they supposed to do against this? Everything about the Hound is horrifying. Like, The Grimm as a concept are a little scary, sure. Like imagining being around a creature like that in reality, like, yeah, you'd be horrified. You'd be shitting your pants. Of course. The Nuckelavee was absolute nightmare fuel. The way it moved, the way it screeched, the design, horrifying. The apathy is one of the scariest things I've seen in an animated series. Full stop. Not only the design, the movements of it, the ability, but the way it was presented was so much scarier than even the Nuckelavee. This thing trumps them all. The Hound is next level terror. It's not just scary, it's not just frightening. This is terror. Sheer, utter terror. Like, between all this other stuff, between even Salem herself, this thing, it breaks all the rules. It speaks, it's actively intelligent, it can transform its body as necessary to accomplish its task. It's so powerful and so quick that it can act in such a way that it just completely nullifies its target's chance to even try to attack. It is by far the most frightening thing we have seen in this series. Period. Like, I want to talk about the other stuff that happened in this episode, but at the same time, I'm just so transfixed upon that right now. It's just, it's taking over my entire like thought process. Going into this volume, I of course wanted this volume to be something special, something amazing. The opening makes it very clear that this is going to be a dark volume, a very scary volume, a very intense volume. But I was not expecting it to be scary like this. I was not expecting it to be intense like this. I was not expecting this. I've kind of had this ongoing thought process where I found every volume of this series to be better than the last, which is exceptionally impressive to me. And honestly, if this is the kind of shit we're getting this volume, now that Salem is here, now that we have begun this war, if this is only the second episode, holy fuck. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this volume. If this is a sign of things to come, Ironwood will not be the only person dying this volume. If this is a sign of things to come, on the second episode of this volume, multiple characters are going to die. And honestly, at this point, I don't think Team Orange are safe. Team RWBY, I think, are, but and Oscar, honestly, I think definitely is. Penny, I believe, is fully safe. But as for Ren, Nora, and Jean, I'm not actually confident. And I'm terrified that I'm feeling that way. That I honestly believe that one of them could die. Or Winter, or Crow. honestly, Crow, I would very much believe could happen. And the fact that this is now, I'm just that unsure that I'm this paranoid about it. Like, I'm scared of where this is going to go. But at the same time, don't get me wrong, I'm very excited. Because this volume, if it goes in the right directions, if it does the right things, if it continues with this level of quality and intenseness, and it makes everything work in just the right way, I am confident that it could, not saying it will, but that it could usurp the throne of Carol and Tuesday and become my favorite show of all time. Because right now, I would probably put it at number 3, under Carol and Tuesday and Legend of Korra. But if this continues the way it's going, if it continues to be this damn good throughout this entire volume and makes everything work in just the right way, it could easily surpass both of those shows. And honestly, I'm all for that if it does. As I always say, I want to be impressed by shows. I want to love them. No matter what show it is, I want to love it. And I already love RWBY. So if this manages to become even that much better and surpass those other 2 shows and become my favorite of all time, I am all for that. But I should probably talk about the other stuff. So on Yang's team, they're managing to work with the Happy Huntresses. We get to see Fiona again, and they're in the process of evacuating everyone. We find out that the guy who helped Oscar in chapter 1 is Fiona's uncle. He actually gets a speaking line in this episode. We get to see them having to deal with Grimm and all, and just do what they can. We get to see them use some new tech, such as these hover bikes. Jean really enjoys using these shield generators. And then there's RWBY's team. They head to where they need to go to get to the terminal. And while there, because of Weiss's family owning the place, she's able to get access easier. They find these tube transports that Nora accidentally sends Weiss through, which was honestly really fucking hilarious. Just how quick that was. It's like, oh god, Weiss. But there was also this important moment in there where we saw Penny struggling. She's not in a good place emotionally. She's really upset by the actions of Ironwood and the Aesops, and especially with what Ironwood said to her about people's lives being in their hands. And RWBY comforts her and tells her that that's not true, and it's not. Like I said in the reaction, it was a purely manipulative tactic. It's a tactic that you see in a lot of different things, where the person tries to manipulate another into doing something or coming back or listening to them by using some kind of underhanded idea, like, oh, if you don't come back, like in this case, these people's heads will be on your hands and stuff. It's just a manipulative tactic to try and convince someone to side with you. And this is even seen in real life. It's seen a lot with abusive domestic relationships. It's one of the big reasons why so many victims stay with their abusers for so long. And it's horrible. And that's where Ironwood is at the moment, as unfortunate as it is. And then there was the scene with the prison cell. So we finally get to catch up on Robin and Crow. Robin is genuinely upset. She's angry. She's yelling at Jacques and all. And she's upset, but she's also just sad because she genuinely just wanted to help people. That's literally been her goal. And I mean, I've sided with her and the Happy Huntresses since last volume, so she wanted to help, and now she's there. And Crow is, we know, is upset too because of what happened. And he said he wants to kill the person responsible, but he doesn't actually say who it is. It transitions into Ironwood, but I think he could also be talking about Tyrion, so it's hard to say. It could be either of them. But we see they're being held in these hard light prison cells alongside Jacques and Watts, the evil mustaches. They're all being held in separate cells technically, but they're in kind of like this quad formation with each other. These soldiers come along, unlock Watts's cell, turn off the hard light shields, knock him out, and drag him away. And I think there's only two options I can see that is happening there. Either he's being brought in for questioning by Ironwood, which is very possible considering Ironwood at this point. He probably wants to know everything he can. And considering they have in custody someone who works for Salem, it's something. The other option, which I actually think in this situation, surprisingly so, is less likely, but is still possible, is that the two people who came in there, knocked him out, and dragged him away were actually two of Salem's minions. And I think, honestly, the two who would be most likely to go in disguise like that would be Emerald and Mercury. I don't think it would be Cinder, or it definitely would not be Tyrion or Hazel. It couldn't be Hazel just on the size alone. Neo could have, but I don't think she would have necessarily. So I think Emerald and Mercury are the more likely ones in that situation, if that were the case. But I still think it's more likely, actually, that Ironwood wants to question Watts. But yeah, so there's setup going on there for sure. But yeah, really the only big thing that is still on my mind at the moment is the Hound. And it's like, more than anything else right now, I want to see where that goes. I want to see what they do with that, but I'm scared to find out at the same time. And it looks like I talked about in the pre-thoughts how I didn't think Oscar was actually going to be kidnapped. How I thought he was like, it was going to be more like this looming shadow over his shoulder, but no, it looks like he might actually be. I did not expect the Hound to be like this. I expected that the Grim that Salem was sending was going to be strong, but not like that. That's a lot. I just have no idea how they would beat it at this point, though. I don't know. I don't know. But I also, just last thing, I do like that we're seeing more of May. I've been following her voice actress, Kaden Jensen, on Twitter. She's fantastic. She's hilarious. She's super nerdy, and I love it. And she's been super excited about this volume, and she's been talking about recording lines and stuff. And based on what we're seeing here, at least, it looks like May is going to have a bigger role this volume than she did last one. And I'm all for that because I wanted to see more of her. I made her outfit in Animal Crossing. And yes, admittedly, part of that is because she is confirmed canonically trans. The character May Marigold is canonically confirmed to be trans. And her voice actress is trans as well. So yeah, that is honestly and admittedly part of it. But I also really am interested in her character. We get to see a little bit of her semblance here. Like, we saw a little bit of it in the last volume, but we see here, like, it seems like it's specifically invisibility. She can turn invisible and other things around her as well. It's purely a cloaking ability, a stealth ability, and that's cool. Um, so it's really cool to actually see that, even if we don't get the actual, like they don't actually say it. I think at this point it's pretty clear, and we get to see Fiona use her semblance as well. Um, we get to see her. What did I call? Did I accidentally call May's semblance a devil fruit ability or something? Because it's one. I'm recording this on One Piece week and everything, so that's on my mind. So I might have accidentally called it that. I apologize if I did, but I meant semblance, especially since I just recorded One Piece before this. You're seeing this on Sunday. I'm recording this during the week leading up to this, obviously. Um, but yeah, I meant her semblance, and we see Fiona's as well. We see her like pull things into herself, like into her hand and all, as like the storage kind of thing. We got to see more of Fiona too, which is always great. And I know there's quite a few people who are gonna love that, especially Rarity Dash. I believe he's a big fan of Fiona. I think Potter Brony might be as well. Either way, excuse me. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It was a great episode, and it's a scary episode, terrifying. I really cannot wait to see where this goes. Like shit. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of RWBY Volume 8, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.